There we go. We do these as a way for us to connect, learn, and grow. And that's the point of this. And we're all about Six Star. And these sessions exploring Six Star is about peeling the layers back into a topic that sits foundationally in our model of what Six Star is. And effectively, each of these topics is all around how we show up. It's about us. So it's the Six Star entrepreneur or individual in a business. You know, you don't just create a Six Star business that's separate from you. The business is a reflection of you. So these are fun, they're engaging. It's a way for us to get to know each other better through a different mechanism. And it's not your traditional networking. It is actually a place to learn and grow in a very open, what's the word? Safe. There's plenty of ways to describe it. Friendly.
Vulnerable,
yeah.
friendly.
Vulnerable, open, transparent space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you never know what comes out of these sessions either. And what's really interesting to me is that I always come out like energized and I feel like I'm becoming a better person myself personally from these sessions. And what I'm hearing from different people is that there almost needs to be their own level of personal accountability, because we all learn from these. So at the end of the session, one of the questions is what are the steps that we can take, you know, today, tomorrow, the next week, in order to become more, or, you know, to move into this space more. And that requires action, requires consistency. And you know, Bobby, you know all about consistency. That was like one of the key words that you were saying in our podcast conversation when you came on, and that really kind of sunk in for me. And if you listen to people who are not just successful but in flow, you know, they truly do live a Six Star life. They keep showing up and they take consistent action. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and bring up the question, the topic for today, which is not mindset. It is collaboration. So I was hoping Joanne would be here because collaboration is right in her wheelhouse, and she has a great story and I guess experience all around collaboration in a business sense. So anyway, this is collaboration as one of our Genius model topics. I sent these through on email and I would love to get stuck into it. Now, before we do, someone mentioned this the other day and I want to take advantage of this. I'm not sure if all of you attended our guest expert or watched the replay of our guest expert presentation from, was it last week or the week before? Jennifer Regular. And absolutely mind-blowing. It was really fabulous, but she gave us these little tips. And this one takes less than 30 seconds and I want us to all do it. And it's not woo-woo, it's actually just balancing the different sides of our brain, especially given it's first thing in the morning for us. So the technique is you take your right hand and you put it over the top of your head. And you just take 2 breaths, just breathe in naturally, breathe out, and do that twice. And then we swap hands. And then the left hand. And just notice where your awareness goes. And for me, it kind of drops down into this heart space and I can kind of feel my heartbeat and my body more, and I'm completely relaxed. It's very nurturing. Lovely little exercise to just relax and center ourselves. Did you like that?
That's the Six Star Business Secret Handshake.
There we go. All right, collaboration. So what does it mean? What does it mean for you? I'm keen to throw it open and for someone to sort of have a crack. So what does collaboration in business really look like? These questions here are just there to help form the conversation. We can go off track a little bit or a lot if we need to, but yeah, let's start with what does it look like? What does it mean?
For me, it is about a situation where you are partnering with somebody where the outcome is where you both win out of that situation, whether it's a business deal or like I would do a partnership with a HR company. I would do the recruitment, they would do the HR side. I'd refer all the HR stuff to them. They're going to refer all the recruitment stuff to me. Or it could be like this. This is collaboration. What we're doing right now is, talking about ideas, talk about, how we do certain things, and for us to pass our knowledge on to a group of people who can then use that knowledge for themselves. So if you guys were looking to recruit and you wanted some advice, and I would give you that advice for free, that's a collaboration. I'm trying to help you with what your end result would be with finding a team member, or it might be a referral. If I'm doing an intro to Stephen, to Corey, as an example, I still see that as a collaboration. I'm collaborating with you to help you in your business to find an introduction or a lead or a sale or whatever it might be. So there's so many different ways you can look at it. And I think that you have to be very open-minded in the collaboration, because there's obviously very different ways of doing business and working together. And it takes a lot of effort, I find, as well. Collaboration, sometimes you don't have the same vision. You've got to try and work that vision out between two people, especially if you've been on your own for a while. It can be very difficult to be able to do that. But I find collaboration so much easier because it's less lonely. It's a less lonely journey, and you can share the workload if you're doing a collaboration on some sort of an event or something like that. And so I'm starting to do a lot more of that. I've got a lot more opportunities coming through to me that aren't generally to do with what I do right now, and I still want to take on that opportunity, but I don't really want to take a full risk on myself. And so I then go out to my network with people who I know I can collaborate with and go, hey, I've got a project. It could lead to something. Do you fancy doing it together? Because I don't really want to do it on my own. And it makes it a bit more easier to kind of like have different journeys going on at the same time when you've got someone else there with you.
That's great.
I feel like there's two parts to collaboration. The first part is the mindset that you have in being collaborative. And so you enter into an exchange with somebody with a collaboration mindset. And then there's what Bobby's talking about, is the application of that, aligning with somebody who has similar values to you, is looking at the same outcome that you feel that as though you can work with. The thing that I'm not 100% certain of where collaboration fits into the reciprocity side of things. Can you collaborate with someone, and this is a question, I don't have the answer. Can you collaborate with somebody and not expect anything in return for that? Or is it an actual exchange where you're collaborating and there has to be this quid pro quo, there has to be a balance of your effort and their effort in the collaboration? I've got an opinion on that, but I don't know that that's the right opinion.
Can I give you an example of something that's literally happened to me in the last week? And this is why this is quite a good topic for me. My brother in the UK owns a business where he takes football teams, like junior football teams, on tours around football stadiums and in England. So they go for the whole week, and they go to, say, Man United, they go and train there, they go and play against some teams, they go on to a football match and all this kind of stuff. And so he reached out to me and said, oh, would this be quite good for Australia? And I said, oh yeah, Premier League's quite big over here. I reckon you get good traction. And so I found this lead for him, and he turned around to me and he said, oh, I don't want a third party dealing with my business. And I was kind of like, oh, like that's what my businesses are built on. And so I said, so you don't want the opportunity? And like, this lady's got contact with 40 football clubs in Australia, right? So perfect market in my mind. And so he said, no, I don't want it. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to do it. It's not even my business. I saw the opportunity, that I was like, can't be that hard, can't be that difficult to do it. And so I looked into it, and I thought, I don't really want to do it on my own. So I reached out to somebody who I meet regularly and said, hey, this is really totally left wing. It's nothing to do with what we're doing, but I've got this opportunity. Do you fancy having a go at it with me? And so now we're just going to give it a go. And it was just totally because someone said they didn't want the opportunity, and I could see the opportunity. And so I suppose when we're talking that collaboration, like there's no expectation from that person apart from, hey, can you do these 5 things and I'll do these 5 things and let's see what that equals. And then we'll go to the client and go, this is how much we think it's going to be. And if they say yes, then all of a sudden we've got a collaboration and a business that we didn't even know we were going to do last week. So.
Well, Bobby, how is your relationship to your brother?
No, it's a very strange relationship. Honestly, we've probably been in the same room maybe 10 times in our life.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so he's a lot older than me. He's got grandkids. I'm 42. He must be at least 55, 6, 50 around that age.
Yeah.
But because originally what happened in that conversation, he reached out to me because I'm doing a lot of stuff on lives and stuff, so he's seen me around everywhere and knows I've got a lot of connections, and he wanted me to start the business over here for him, and I said, well, I want 50% of the business, and he said he didn't want to give me 50%, he wanted to give me $1,000. So I was kind of like,
what?
all right. So, okay, well, my channel's now open. This lady's now landed in my lap. She's got 40 football teams that she's dealing with. And so, if he doesn't want the opportunity, then it's only my time and the collaboration partner's time where we have to go and investigate how to go and do it. Because all we're doing really is being a tour director, really, and going, okay, well, this is when you're going to go to the football club. This is when you're going to go to the hotel. This is where you're going to go here. And it can't be that difficult to sort out. And so, sometimes you see an opportunity and you want to do it, but like I said before, I don't want to do it on my own. I've got plenty of other things going on, and but yeah, my brother misses out on an opportunity because he doesn't want to deal with third party. And I'm like, my whole 105 clients are all third party, all through networking. My clients, and so what can you do? So might as well just give it a go.
That's great. Great example. I look forward to hearing how that unfolds, Bobby. We want to know about it. It'll be, you could imagine a year's time if it takes off, and then you've got this other business that just takes over, and you look back at your brother's business, and he's going, "Damn, wish I'd listened to you. Wish I'd partnered with you."
Sometimes you just have to say yes to things, don't you? And,
yes.
Especially when it's if I've never met that lady, I wouldn't even bother. Like it's just that there's an opportunity where she's interested in what we're offering already. And I'm like, okay, well, I might as well just go and do that. Can't be that difficult.
It comes all back to and down to mindset, and collaboration is really a very interesting topic because, as you know, I'm a recent so-called corporate dropout who have been spending more than 2 decades in the corporate world, and who is now trying to run his own advisory and consulting. And for me, collaboration is essential and is the foundation of my business, in the sense that 2 brains are smarter than one. And as I have been 20 years firefighting, in firefighting for my projects, getting it approved by the senior managers and all these things. It was always a challenge being a firefighter and a team player at the same time. And it's just simpler to do it with more. And what Steve said, I mean, I sent you this book, Give and Take, from Adam Grant, where you have these 3 different type of personalities. You have the givers, who always are there to help others because they believe in the law of attraction that things which go out will come back one day. Then you have the takers, who only are just self-centric, who always do things only when they see opportunities for themselves. So it's more a win and lose situation they're aiming for. And then you have those so-called matches, who only do something in return for something. And I don't know. I mean, without collaboration, I don't know how you can actually build and sustain your business, because collaboration for me is expanding a network. And in particular, for somebody who recently dropped out, roughly 2 years now, out of corporate, being a nobody in the entrepreneur world, how do I get credibility and reputation? How can I build that if I don't start collaborating with others and giving them first so they understand what type of skill, experience, expertise I have, which is contributing and adding value to them, which then in return gives me the reputation, the word of mouth, when they start then suggesting me to other people, which is then generating business for me automatically. That's not going to happen overnight, of course. Yeah. So, and collaboration is a long-lasting thing, and I would compare that with the symbiosis in nature. Yeah. So it is as essential as the air to breathe. Yeah. That's it for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, if we talk about community, which I think we have, and collectivity and all that stuff, a collective doesn't operate without collaboration. So it's really two sides of a coin. And I think one thing about Six Star is that we develop an expertise in building community, in collaborating in order to produce multiple levels of return for everybody, not just that I gave you an apple, you have to give me one back. So it's more dimensions to what we do. And I think we don't do anything that doesn't support community, and that's based in collaboration. You have to work together. So Corey, I really love how you said all that. I agree.
And it's also when we've got a team of people, like we've got staff, we've got maybe we have 2 people, 100 people, whatever it is, we've still got a collaboration. We've still got to collaborate with those people. And we see it so much in recruitment where we have companies who aren't like that. They just continue to hire, they continue to hire, they continue to hire. You've got to be able to use the skills of those people that come in and trust those people. If you're not going to do that, then people get annoyed. And especially in this market, people just move so quickly because there's so many jobs. So, if you've got a team of people, it's not just about collaborating in business, it's collaborating for the greater goal of that business. And if we don't communicate that to the team, how can they collaborate and help us build that vision?
Yeah, and I think one thing about collaboration we're all touching on is that the things that we do in a team or in an organization, there's a lot of exchange back and forth between 2 people or 2 teams, or one position and another position. But I think real collaboration feeds the entirety of the organization or the whole of the team. There's another dimension to it, and I don't think everybody realizes that. If you guys are feeling what I'm saying.
So the output of that collaboration is what you're saying, that the byproduct of that is this greater energy that kind of permeates around and feeds into that group.
Yeah, and I'm glad you used the word energy. It's an addition to the life force of the whole organization or the whole group. And it feeds sometimes we talk about morale, if you want to look at it that way, but I see it really as life force and the momentum for the entire organization to keep going, to keep evolving, to keep producing beautiful things. So there's an internal force that gets fed that keeps the whole organization going. And I think that's collaboration in a Six Star way tends to that internal momentum and that extra life force.
I mean, it also nurtures our innate needs to become social, to be social with others as a being, right? And what also happens is it also generates fun. I mean, it can be inspiring, engaging, it can be challenging, pushing you towards your comfort zone, and beyond. And I think, why does it not always work? I mean, there's so many reasons why. Bad experience in the past, you don't want to challenge yourself, you want to stay in your comfort zone, which applies to a lot of people. And then it comes back to mindsets, level of bravery, and what do you expect from your life, and what do you wish for others. I think for me, when it comes to collaboration, the focus is not on me, it's more, how can I help others to be successful? If I can accomplish that, success will automatically come back to me.
Yeah. And I think I just had a ping while you were saying that I think a lot of people, when they collaborate, we've touched on this in a lot of different ways. If I collaborate with you, I get something. So it's like an endpoint. But what we're talking about at the 6-star level is the collaboration. It generates source energy. It's always feeding something bigger. So something's always on the move. Instead of I collaborated with you, I get this, now we're done. Instead of an endpoint, we're working from the source.
So you're saying it's less of a transaction, as
Yeah.
in the non-6-star way, let's just say, those that aren't thinking 6-star, is well, I'll do this, you do that, we'll get an outcome financially and other. But 6-star collaboration is what the intent is to create something for the greater good. So it's not just for me. Is that right?
Yeah, it's like tending to your garden. So it's always growing, and every cycle of growth is beautiful and comes to fruition, and there's enough energy and seeds for the next generation. So when you start a new cycle of stuff, you don't have to start at ground zero. It's a living, dynamic set of interactions.
I think collaboration is such a broad word as well. Like you say, there's certain things you can do and you expect something back or you don't. But I think you do always get something. Like, so I meet with a few people every week, one-to-ones and just consistently. And the question we always ask each other is, how can I help you today? It could be anything. It could be with technology. It could be with an email that you're trying to write or whatever it is. And so even though I don't get anything back monetary value, but I get a great feeling back. I get a great feeling that I've asked somebody, didn't they need help? They said, yes, I need help with this email. What do you think of it? And I've given my experience and my advice into that. Makes me feel good about myself. Makes me feel that I'm wanted and needed by people. I've got experience that people want to hear about. And especially when they take that on board and then use it. And then the next week we meet, I go, how did you go last week? And they go, it worked really well, blah, blah, blah. You know, at the end of the day, you're still collaborating. I didn't get anything back from that apart from felt good about myself because I could use my knowledge and experience in a different way.
Yeah, but that feel good, that's energy, and that empowers you. It keeps you alive and interactive. So that's a big gift back to you. I think people don't understand the necessity for good energy. You know, that getting that feel good energy out of an interaction. That's everything. That's an easy way to stay healthy and engaged and energized about life. And
that's why I come here. That's why I come to these meetings, because I know there's going to be good energy, and I need that in my day. And you know, some days are crap and really bad, and you know, and knowing you've got this to come to, you come to it. You know, you're going to at least have an hour of that positivity energy to take on to the next. You know, let's hope it lasts on all day. But that's why you need to have consistent meetings and things like this with people who are in that same mindset. And that's why you need these people around you to do that. And this is what I was saying in the podcast last week about, you know, doing good things for good people, because it makes me feel good. It makes my life easier. And so I do go out my way to do things for other people. I don't expect anything in return because I just want the good energy. I just want to dance around and feel happy because I've made that introduction. And then I can use that energy to do my things that I need to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Does anyone else want to talk, have a go at answering or responding around what does it look like in a 6-star business? What does it mean to you? 6-star collaboration.
I think Bobby may have just touched on this, but I'm thinking about collaborations that I seek. And I'm always trying to set off a stick of dynamite here and there in my work, because I bring this very esoteric sounding thing, the technologies of consciousness, to everybody. And I'm just trying to help people understand what it is to be awake and connected in life and in business. And so I'll reach out to collaborate. Like right now, I'm doing a series of online discussion sessions with 2 colleagues. And we're charging if anybody wants to be live with us, but it's really something we're creating to then put further out, because we're going to resell the recordings. And each of the 3 of us in these conversations, we have different businesses. We're going to split the small profits we get from running this thing live and selling it later. But the collaboration is each of us are putting, it's like maybe like fly fishing, we're casting out into our arenas, and where our arenas of expertise cross over, we're casting these lines to see what we catch, because that's going to bring bigger ideas and bigger possibilities to us. So there's a kind of exploratory collaboration that I do a lot of. And I think that's a 6-star kind of collaboration, looking always for more fertility, more opportunity, more negotiability out there somewhere, and not always looking in existing frameworks, because if we do that, we say, well, I can't do that because they won't answer, blah, blah, blah. But I'm always looking beyond the frameworks. I want to find a horizon and cast a possibility beyond a known horizon. And I do that with people who do slightly different things than I do. But we're actually creating like a new geography between the 3 of us and seeing what's in it. And I like that kind of collaboration. I think that's a 6-star. That's beyond the normal.
I love it.
I don't want to put anybody on spot, but I haven't heard anything from Linda so far. And it's the first
Maybe
time
we've
that I
shocked
see
her.
her. Yeah,
we-
so probably. Apologize for my remark now.
That's a great way to put someone on the spot, mate.
You don't want to, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I guess I was just getting a feel for what the group's about and just
Yeah.
being a listener to understand where it all fits in. And from my perspective, collaboration is a building of trust between people to really understand how you can support one another. Because support is a large foundation of everything we do as humans. It's
Mhm.
about this connection between people, and in the collaboration there's a deeper recognition of the individual, like the genius that they bring to the table, and giving them the freedom and the spaciousness to really shine in their space, and for them to do the same for you. And that's going to be, when you're exchanging in that kind of way, there's a regenerative quality to how you connect and share and collaborate and work together. So I guess when I'm looking for collaborations, those are kind of the foundations that I would be looking at.
Mhm.
Lovely. I love the words that you've used there. That deeper recognition of the individual and the genius they bring to the table. That's real respect and honoring the other person
Mhm.
and caring about them. And
Yeah.
I think when collaboration is done consciously, like with that lens, like that you just spoke of, Linda, and Marty, how you were talking about this project you're doing at the moment with these other 2 colleagues. When it's done on a conscious level, I feel like that's when, there's magic that occurs rather than the, I don't want to call it typical, but the non-6-star, let's say, way of collaboration, which is profit focused only.
Mhm.
Rather, so here's a question. So where does money come into this? Do we go into a collaboration purely for the sake of, right, what can we make out of this, or is there more to it? Where are the lines? Like how does that play into even 6-star collaboration?
I mean, for me, since collaboration is a pillar of my business, I've got 2 type of collaborations. I've got collaboration with corporate partners, where I do have firm contracts in place where I get a commission fee, on top potential retainer. Once I've proven I can get customers, and increase their revenue. And then I have the type of collaboration where I have literally hand-selected partners, trusted partners, where it's very important for me to have partners who share the same values, who are authentic, knowledgeable, who don't bullshit, who put the customer first, and who also are interested in long-term relationships, which are built through the trust by exchanging, giving and receiving, sometimes unbalanced, meaning that you give more in the beginning because you're capable to give more, until this person, due to the different background, as Marty said, is literally giving you something in return due to the different views, perspectives, backgrounds, whatever it is. So you're nurturing each other. And with those partners, I have an agreement that we exchange values. Because for me, since we're living in a society where everything is determined by money, if you have money, you're someone. If you don't have money, you're nobody. Yeah. And I hate it. So for me, with the other type of partners who are solo entrepreneurs, small business owners, it's an exchange of value. And that could be everything, as also Bobby said. So if I partner with a training institute, and they have some interesting training topics, I go and have a training. I get a training for free. In return, I get them to customers. I introduce them to some networks, whatever it is. This is a healthy exchange of things. And I think this is more rewarding. But at the end of the day, of course, you need to make money, right? You need to pay your bills. I need to pay my alimony to my Zoe, my daughter. So there needs to be a good balance. That you make money, but also have this sense of fulfillment everybody is actually looking for and after. In particular, that's what I was missing in the corporate world. I was earning very good. I had a reputable position, but I wasn't fulfilled. I was successful, but I wasn't fulfilled, because I knew that every time we help shareholders to maximize the profit, somebody in this organization is going to lose. And normally it ends up with a restructuring and then laying off people. And that's not a healthy way of doing and running a company.
So here's a thought. Is Six Star collaboration more about the innovative approach we have to it, rather than, so, and comparing that to a non-Six Star, way, where non-Six Star is purely about money? Yes, you can still exchange values, and you can still exchange. You've got to like the person. You've got to have that level of trust, and you're doing it for good reason. But we're talking about Six Star. So, okay, the difference is, and what we're talking about, the energy, the sense of feel good. But I'm also hearing about, what Marty, you're doing about going beyond the existing frameworks. We're talking about collaborating for a purpose greater than just money. So if we think about it, when two people come together, like if you go out and do a job by yourself, we know that it's pretty lonely. But to be able to do it with someone else, it's exponential. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 or 5, because you've got this magic of the other person. Well, you've got the other person's gifts and genius as well. And when you come together, this magic happens that you don't actually see up front because you haven't done it yet. But then there's this open sort of journey that unfolds. And to me, that's part of this evolution, this innovation that happens. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think so. Let me add a couple of things, some images that might help us.
Okay.
What I tried to say before is my sense of Six Star collaboration is, instead of coming together to reach an endpoint, Six Star collaboration is generative. A lot of things are produced, but it's generative. It taps into a sort of infinite generative flow. The other way to think about this, I just thought of this metaphor that one of my mentors used to use about self-care. But imagine that everybody who's coming together to do a collaboration does this. And the image is that each person understands that they are like a like a water well, a natural water spring, and their body and their presence and their gifts and all that, that's the pure water of the original well. And they tend themselves and their gift so beautifully that the well that they are overflows. And so in the image, you put overflow buckets around the central well that you are, and you keep the overflow buckets full. And whenever you give or invest or collaborate, you're only giving from the overflow. So you stay as strong as you always were. You don't overgive. And whatever the collaboration is actually supports you in tending that central well and probably increases what you can put into the overflow buckets. And that overflow is what you share with other people. And the whole thing, it could be money, it could be opportunities, it could be other resources, but it doesn't make any of those exchange mediums less valuable than the other, because money's required. It just simply is. And people who are shy about money need to get over it, in my estimation. But we also need a lot of other stuff. We need love. We need acknowledgement. We need respect. We need other kinds of resources. Those are all the overflow buckets. And that's 6-star. So there's an intelligence in the 6-star level collaboration where people coming together know there's no overgiving here. There's only such support that even if it's exploratory, that everybody involved is supported so they grow in that exploration. Something gets generated and everybody benefits from the core outward. I don't know if that helped, but there you go.
Wow. No, I love it. And each of those buckets, you said you could actually classify each of those buckets. Is that right, Marty? Those overflow buckets? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I just shift I've got this sense that what we're talking about is 5-star plus 1. So everything that we've been talking about has the current paradigm in our thinking. And I think 6-star is taking a different view of the way that we currently do things, not doing things better than the way we do things, but doing things differently. So what if money wasn't the outcome? What if we didn't need money? What if we actually collaborated with somebody without any expectation of anything in return? So taking Bobby's example, his brothers come to him. What if he just said, "Yep, sure, happy to help you. Here's the introduction. Go ahead, do it. I'll support you as much as I possibly can because I don't want anything in return." I don't mean to pick on Bobby, but I'm just, if you thought about it differently, how would that outcome be? How could that make a difference? And what I'm seeing is people pushing forward, sort of giving forward, and the flow is not coming back to them. It's coming from behind them. So the flow that they get, the wash that they get from other people's generosity is coming from this collective flow of energy. And I think energy is at its core.
Yeah.
So that's what I see. I love what everybody's talking about, and we live in this current paradigm. We need to make money to be able to survive, and it's not. But I just wondered if for 1% of the time or 5% of the time, you actually you gave with that intention, with that thought, with that process, however you want to describe it, and experiment with that and see whether that methodology or that process gave you as much, if not more, than the 95% of your actions in the current way that you collaborate.
Does that require, Steve, a complete trust in the universe that everything is in flow? So by you then giving without like anything in return, you actually know that the universe will provide. So is that living in that, coming from that place?
I think I think there's some of that. Yep. You have to trust, and that's, and then when it doesn't respond to you in the way that you thought it should respond, that, you know, then you don't trust it because it wasn't, the universe didn't provide.
Well, then you have expectations, right? If
yeah.
you say,
So was it
thought.
that you? So I remember I had a conversation with this one guy once, and I said, I expect nothing in return, and he said, that's rubbish. He said, I expect something in return from this. It was pay it forward, right? And he said, what the way I express it is that when I pay it forward, when I pay it forward, my expectation is that you pay it forward. I think Benjamin Franklin did that. You know, he forgave debt to a whole bunch of people, but said to them, when you are in a position to forgive debt, expecting nothing in return. That's my philosophy for the morning.
That's interesting, that, isn't it? Because even though you're not expecting anything in return, you're expecting someone else to do something with that.
Yeah. So sometimes
there's always something. There's always going to be something.
Yeah. So sometimes when I introduce people together, in my closing statement, I put a pay it forward, which is I don't expect anything in return. But when you have an opportunity to do the same as I've just done with expecting nothing in return, please do that. But it's, the circumstances for you. So yeah. Anyway.
I feel like there's a thread between what you've been saying and what Marty was saying, though, because the place from where you start is really important.
Mm-hmm.
If you are saying, okay, I'm going to collaborate, even if you mentally say I'm doing it without any expectation, if you are doing it from a place of lack or trying to, I don't know, be a good person or some, you know what I mean? It's like this place of lack or like your bucket is not full. The outcome of that is always going to be non-resonant in some format. So unless you're in a really strong place, what you're saying isn't possible.
And I feel exactly the same. And I think, Steve, what you're saying works when you have Marty's overflow buckets are full. So if you're giving from the overflow bucket, you're not coming from lack. You're not coming from a place of need.
Yeah, but that presumes that I need that my overflow bucket is what? Is it money?
It can be anything.
So that's. But everybody
it's your
talks.
Gift, your energy. It's any. Steve, I think you touched on something really important, though. If I understood how you said, you were talking about something that the force or the energy comes from behind us when we're giving forward. And that's what the central well is. That's what that metaphor is all about. Is that we're I think in Sixth Star we are attempting to experience what it is to be here, gifted, willing to create stuff and give stuff into the world. And if I give something into the world, I might say in English, I don't expect anything in return, but that's the wrong level of consciousness. That's the personal level of consciousness. If I create and put something out, like these conversations I'm doing, there is going to be something in return because there will be a response somewhere. And so I think I think, Steve, you've got the feel of what I was saying. You whatever you said, I felt the same thing. And I think what we're searching for is I don't know, in my terminology, we're kind of caught between two dimensions of consciousness. And I think that when I say collaboration, I think Sixth Star collaboration is generative. What I'm saying is that we get together to create something, to try something out, put something out there, and we don't necessarily have a budget and a business plan expecting a certain return on investment, but we know it's going to generate something. And if we do that, we shouldn't come into collaboration if we don't have the time or the resources, or if it's going to crimp our cash flow so we suffer in some way. We should do it when we have the full generative energy and flow, and we should get something beneficial out of it. invest in something, everybody should get something out. But what that beneficial thing is for somebody, it might be money once, it might be support another time, it might be a new idea another time. So I think we're trying to kick free of money versus other things. And
Yeah.
I think the other benefits are equally valuable to this thing that we call money. Sometimes the return is a relationship that is priceless.
Yeah.
Right, Av?
Mhm.
I'm
Right.
referencing my relationship with Av and how that came about.
Yeah. I mean, that's another story in itself, but it's quite remarkable.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing, it's similar. Like we've both, you just said then, Marty, you know, you, in your flow, you said we should collaborate when we're in flow and not in lack. And that reflects what a couple of others have said as well.
Yeah.
So it's coming at it from an not just monetary, not just X, not just Y, and with this with an expectation of, well, if I put X into this pot, I'm going to get Y out, which is the ROI. But it's that, yeah, I'm in a place where I can give because I have excess, or my overflow buckets are filled, or I've got, you know, the capacity, I'm in flow. I might put in money, or I might put in skills, or I might put in time, or I might put in something else, my network, and I know that I'll get something back because that's how the nature of the laws of nature work.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a set, well, I expect to get, you know, this back from this, which is the transaction approach.
Mm-hmm.
The two-dimensional approach.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling the same thing, but it's very hard to language.
It is.
Mhm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if I fall into my professional language, I could map it all out, but then very few people would understand it.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in a regular way of saying these things because we're feeling it. And I think it'd be a huge gift to a lot of people if we can put this into very simple English that's heartfelt.
You know, I'd be open to having another conversation on this. I mean, when you think about it, we're almost at the top of the hour and we haven't even gotten to the next questions, but I'm actually wondering whether it's worthwhile extending this topic in a fortnight again, because what we might need to do is unpack the language around it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Because this is a huge area of business and life, right? And it's not something I think that we can just skim over in an hour. I feel like this needs more time.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
I know for me, it's like when I focused on how I show up in things, what comes out of them normally equals success. And you can define success in whatever way you want, but it isn't always money. It is often money, but it isn't always money. So it's like, for me, it's always going back to that starting point. Like, how am I coming into this relationship? Because that's what collaboration is, ultimately. It's a relationship with another being.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I like the idea of coming back. I mean, we've only just scratched the surface.
I think so. Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see what our afternoon group comes up with. That might give you some thoughts in terms of, you know, maybe maybe that gives you context to think about the questions differently.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, definitely.
We also haven't spoken about collaboration in relationship. Like most of us, I'm assuming, we have a relationship with somebody, we live with somebody. You know, there's no monetary value there. Like, it's not like I'm going to help clean the house. It's not like she's going to pay me for that. And so collaboration starts at home, doesn't it? Like, we've got to collaborate with our parents, with our brothers and sisters, when we get in relationships. And it's a totally different dynamic compared to business because, you know, where's the expectations there? You know, is it because I'm doing it because I'm going to want to help the house? Or I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it. Like my partner really loves cleaning, and so she wants me to clean, but I feel guilty about it. And so I have to then provide something that counteracts that. And so what does that look like? You know, that's taking the rubbish out. That might be taking the bins out, doing things that she doesn't really want to do, even though I don't want to do them. But she's, you know, we've got to collaborate to make sure the household works properly. And you know, and we're talking about my brother a minute ago, only, you know, in this conversation. Well, I've never lived with him. Even though he's my brother, I've never lived in the same house as him. So it's very difficult, you know, for me to view him as a brother. Just because we've got the same dad doesn't mean that I have to collaborate with him, because I've never had to do that. And so, you know, when we start to talk about relationships, it opens up a totally different way of thinking about collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for me, that opens up like, how do you want to spend your time,
Mm-hmm.
and with
Mm.
whom?
Yeah.
It's like there's an interaction, an exchange in every interaction with every human we have, and we only have a finite amount of time,
Mm.
like in this life. So how are you using that time? Because if there's any resource that we never get back, and we can never have more of, its time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we only got 1 hour now, we've only got 1 hour to deal with stuff. Like, what do we do? Do we look after ourselves? Do we look after that person that we found an introduction for? Do we look after our partner? If we only have that 1 hour, then all of a sudden it changes the way you think, doesn't it? And I plan my week 38 hours a week, and that's dedicated to work. And I say that to my partner, I go, this is the work time. And then your time is this, because these things, you know, the work time has to be there to be able to provide the things that we want to do in the future. And that can be difficult, can't it? Because sometimes that goes over time. Sometimes we go over that time, and then we have to explain to our partner, hey, I can't make dinner tonight because I've got to go to this networking meeting, which is not normally in my hours. So yeah, it's a very interesting subject, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would you say that how we collaborate in our personal lives is a reflection of how we collaborate in our business life? If we're being if we're being conscious about it, because I don't think I've been super conscious of that, but just the last couple of comments has made me think, wow, you know, how do I do that? Because it's about the energy and the time I have.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, for
me,
me,
that
having
cycles back to like the starting point. Like, why are you collaborating? Why are you why are you going to spend your time here? Because if it's from a place of lack, anxiety, pressure, all of those things, like what comes out of it is going to be non-resonant. So it cycles back to like the bucket analogy, or wherever you want to go back to. Like, where are we starting from?
Yeah.
my relationship has definitely changed by having businesses. Like by, you know, networking and meeting people and collaborating and doing things like that. I definitely bring that back into the household in a more positive way than any other relationship that I've had. You know, I think understanding other humans and dealing with humans and being collaborative and sharing knowledge and things like that makes me realize that that's what we have to do at home. Like, I'm totally different to my partner. Like, she doesn't maybe understand so much about money, whereas I know about money now because of business, and so I bring that knowledge into the household, and whereas I didn't have that before. And I look back at other relationships and I can see why they weren't successful, and because I didn't have the knowledge of so many things. And by being in business and meeting a lot of people, coaches and, you know, marketing people, these kind of things bring so much value and knowledge to your life in other ways. And that then affects my personal life, because I can go, hey, I met someone who was talking about this the other day, and this is what they were saying. And then all of a sudden you can have a totally different relationship rather than worrying about whatever it is.
Yeah. So interesting, isn't it? How, when we start peeling back the layers of these topics, like where it goes. Like, I would never have expected that we'd end up here at the start of this hour, and that's the magic of us collaborating together, right, in these calls, which is just beautiful. So given we've got a couple of minutes left, I want to ask, so where should we start in the next conversation? What would be the best place to start?
I'll
I
watch,
sort of
I'll watch.
think
Sorry, I'll
that-
watch the recording. I've got to go. See ya.
Okay. Hey, Steve, nice to see you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Steve.
I was going to say, I think I'm very interested in where this conversation would take us if we investigate what we invest in collaboration.
Mm.
Because to collaborate, you have to make relationships. I really like what Linda said. It's a relationship. But to kickstart the action of a collaboration, I have a worldview where that means we invest something in addition in that relationship, and maybe looking at what we invest that kickstarts the dynamics of collaboration. That might be interesting. We might figure out what the money thing is if we do.
Yeah, it is invest / sacrifice. So what are you sacrificing? Yeah, in addition to the
Hopefully
time.
nothing.
Hopefully
Which you could-
nothing.
Hopefully nothing.
Yeah, hopefully nothing, of course.
Out.
Hopefully nothing.
That was just a ripple of your corporate years. Stop it.
Oh,
I think there's always a sacrifice though of some sort, isn't there? Like, it
No, there
doesn't matter.
shouldn't be though.
Yeah, well, if we've only got an hour time right now, and I can either help you, Marty, with an introduction. I go, how can I help you? You go, oh, I'd love to be introduced to Av. Okay, well, my sacrifice is the time it takes me to do that introduction. And so my time is working on your introduction and not myself. So my sacrifice is that I'm going to do that for you. And that's
But you were just talking about it earlier on, how that like lifts you up and makes
Oh,
you
yeah, it
feel
does.
good. So is it
Yeah,
a sacrifice?
it's still a but it still
It's
isn't
not a-
like it still is in the sense of that I'm helping you with what you need to. Yes, it gives me energy, and I appreciate that, and that's why I do it a lot. And that's why I go out my way and give people my time rather than go and do the sales call to run my business. I go, okay, well, I'm going to do this really quickly for this person. That affects what I've got to do, but also makes me feel good to go and make that call. So there is still that kind of I get that buzz from that, but I still have to sacrifice that time to go, okay, well, I'm not going to go out for dinner with my partner. I'm going to go to a networking event where I can hopefully collaborate with people to help their business. And so my sacrifice is I'm not spending the hour or 2 hours with my partner. And so there's always comes down to time, isn't it? Because like we say, that's the only thing that we can't get back. That's the only thing. And that's why when we're giving someone our time, it's more special because I'm going out my way to spend my time helping you. But I know deep down that gets me going. I really enjoy that, and that's why I do these types of things. But it's the biggest thing. Any meetings I have, any one-to-one, doesn't matter how many times I met the person. How can I help you today? What is it you guys can do? And that could be an introduction. It could be help with IT. It could be whatever it might be. But you'll be surprised how many people go, "Oh no, I'm okay. I'm nothing." But they'll remember the fact that you've asked for that. You said that. They'll remember you because not many people say to people, "Hey, how can I help you?" And not many people ask for help as well. When I go to networking events, I say, I would love help being connected to HR companies. And once you start using the word help, more people want to, I know someone in HR. And so I always like to ask that question, how can I help you? Most people say, I'm all good. Or someone goes, oh, do you know anyone in this industry? Yeah, of course, I'll do that for you. I'll just go and do it.
So maybe to extend on what Marty said about the investing piece, like, I'm not sure what the word is, but it's like has this risk factor to it where it's like a challenge or a stretch or a growth maybe opportunity. So it's an investment, but how can I extend or grow or stretch or risk something, like to step outside of my known field to catapult to a new level, essentially. I don't know, it feels like risk could be a word for that, but so it's like in what am I investing and risking? You know, that other side.
There's a positive risk. This is in developmental biology, they talk about the principle of positive aggression. In other words, that means you have the energy and the focus and the awareness to go get food. Right? You're not hesitant, like, oh, I don't think I can get any food today. It's too scary. You go get your food. And there's a risk in doing that. And it takes an aggressive move, a forward move of your energy. and that's what life does. That's what conscious life does. And I think that one of the things that I would love to break through are these sort of really hidden assumptions about some of these words. Like, is it a risk? In English, that means it's negative, but there's, in the markets, there's risk on and risk off. There's a time to invest, and there's always the unknown.
Yeah.
But if you have a life positive connection and you're to everything you do, and you're tracking energies that are producing, the risk of failure is much lower, and the risk of success is much higher.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that Six Star can do is to start to create new meaning, say these things that we're exploring in new ways that don't have those subliminal negative worries in them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like that very much.
Mhm.
Yeah, brilliant. So anything else? So what we've said to start next session, investigate what we invest in collaboration in the relationship. Then we could figure out the money thing. Also, how can I extend or grow or stretch or risk something to step outside my known field to catapult to another level? What am I investing and risking? And we could create new meaning. So I think the overall goal is to create new meaning and new language around this that doesn't have the negative connotation and other 1-2-dimensional aspects to it, transactional aspects. Have I captured all of that? Yeah, brilliant.
Good.
So that's what we'll do in the next session.
Great.
Thank you. That was so
Thanks.
much fun. I'll stop sharing my
That's
screen so we
great.
can see each other. And yeah, love the energy, love the vibe, love everything. I hope you got a lot out of it. And Linda, I hope you had fun as well. It'd be great to
Thank
have you again. If you're up, if you dare.
Don't dare.
It's a good risk.
That's it.
Yeah.
Risk on.
Yeah. Risk
Yeah.
risk is a part of life. Without risk,
Mhm.
there is no growth.
Yeah.
Every step you take,
Yeah.
I say it to my partner all the time, and I'm like, you can walk out the house, it's a risk. You can drive the car, it's a risk. Everything you're doing is we're on a rock spinning around, whatever you believe, spinning around in space. Like, everything's crazy when you think about. I'm talking to you from Bribey Island on this computer. Like, when you start to think about what life is, it's like, well, there's always a risk, and it's just looking at it and going, okay, well, it's a good risk, or it's, hey, I'm not going to cross the road when it's on the green. That's a crazy risk when I can wait till the red, but that's still a risk because we can still get someone coming through the red light. So it's still a risk.
Without risk, you have mediocrity.
Yeah.
It'd be very lonely as well, wouldn't it? Like,
Well, exactly. And, I always think of a seed in the ground taking the risk of flinging off its husk.
Yeah, it's quite, that's right.
I mean, that's what life does. And we call it a risk, but I don't think nature does. I think it's just what happens. And
No,
we step into the unknown every moment.
opportunities.
Every second, yeah.
For humans, the husk is normally all the stuff you don't want anyway.
And that's what it's all about, living in the moment, isn't it? That's why you got to try and live in this moment and don't worry about what's going to happen in 2 days' time, 5 days' time. That's when the risk starts to come in, when there's no risk because it's not even here. It's like right now.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Crazy. Cool, guys. Better shoot, but good to
Thank
see
you
you
so
all.
much.
All good,
That's
guys. I'll see you
wonderful.
next time.
Have a great
See you.
day.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Lots of
Bye.
love.
Bye.
Bye.